What's up, Notre Dame fans? This is a great way to start off our show, and it's with a super chat. So we'll go ahead and sound the alarms. James Buckner, $20. He says because I care. I was gonna ask you why you were gonna drop a super chat, James, and you already answered for me, so I appreciate that, buddy. What's up, Notre Dame fans? This is Mike Singer, blueandgold.com, recruiting guy with Tim Hyde, our football guy. We're live on YouTube Wednesday night, March 23rd here. And of course, if you're listening back via podcast, we appreciate you as well. Give us a kind review wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, watching live, watching back, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not done so yet. Yes, Michael commented here on YouTube, you're sounding a little bit better, Mike. Feeling better for the most part. I will have to mute myself a few times due to coughing. So if I do that and forget to unmute myself, Tim, you'll have to let me know. We are a woman down tonight. Ashton Pollard not able to join us. She's been under the weather for weeks now. Her voice has not gotten better. So she told me she hasn't spoken out loud in like 4 or 5 days. She's not answering. I even called her yesterday, Tim. She did not answer my phone call. Excuse me. So she's seeing the doctor tomorrow. So we are hopeful that she is feeling better. You guys drop comments, drop super chats. We'll get to questions right away. Tim, to open the show as we do, and if you don't like this part of the show, I don't know what to tell you. Is what it is. Tim, what's in the cup tonight?
Well, special delivery. I just got
Nice. Two
yes, two
Tigers.
tigers from our Notre Dame alums out there. Thank you so much. Been sampling it here as it just got here about 2 hours ago.
Nice. All right. Well, I have the Tigers tail
Ooh,
cocktail that the folks over at Royal Tiger told me to try out. So lime juice, simple syrup, spiced liqueur, and the two Tigers whiskey. So my wife made this for me. So got a nice
nice.
glass here, and of course, shout out to Ashton. Got the Spindrift for the vibes, of course. So that's that part. This is my favorite part of the show.
Yes. Yes.
But maybe not for some other folks. But all right, we'll move along. Yes, shout out Royal Tiger, folks, Notre Dame grads. If you're at Total Wine, pick it up there. Awesome stuff. Okay, so Tim, about 3 minutes before we started recording, you told me that you saw something on Twitter here that I thought was pretty interesting. So we'll pop up on the screen. This is we got Blake Fisher here at right tackle. So for podcast audience, I'll explain this to you. Blake Fisher just tweeted out a couple photos from practice. Well, Notre Dame doesn't give the media a ton of viewing opportunities to the media for practice, so we kind of take whatever we can get. So we're looking at presumably a first-team offensive line unit.
Yep.
Got big Blake Fisher at right tackle. Next to him certainly looks like Josh Lugg. And at center, looks like a 5 and a 2 Zeke Correll. I'm guessing that's Drew Pine at quarterback, but I can't tell, to be honest with you guys. So Tim, we've discussed a good bit. I'm a big Joe Alt guy, always have been, and you're a huge Blake Fisher fan from the very first video we did with you on our YouTube channel. You called him Baby Orlando Pace. So what are your thoughts of seeing him at right tackle? Do I need to take a victory lap? I feel like I'm taking a lot of wins here lately for spring practice.
Well, I don't know if it's a victory lap if you got two outstanding football players manning the flanks out there on the offensive line. What's exciting is that if it is there, it maybe starts to solidify a few things with that grouping. And both those guys played outstanding in the Fiesta Bowl, and maybe they're just going with Joe Alt athleticism. Your traditional right tackle is the big mauler. Left tackle is that athletic. Not that Blake Fisher's not athletic. Blake Fisher's outstanding. And I think maybe they just went with him. He had more games under his belt. This is just guessing here, looking at a Twitter photo here from Blake. Reading between the lines here, but having fun with it is he looks outstanding in his right tackle spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're just going with him. He's got the experience, so if anything happens, probably leg just kicks right back out the right tackle. Baker, manning the left side over there with Joe Alt, and then it sounds like there's just going to be a battle royale for the guards, either the left side and obviously the backup behind Josh Lugg, who's going to be playing his 6th year here. So it's exciting just to see a photo here because they've had 3 days of practice, and more importantly, look like we saw those guys in pads today.
Yeah, so media got to see the very first practice of spring ball last Thursday, 5 periods and stretching, so no 11-on-11 work. So we're kind of picking up the crumbs here. So, I mean, this is just one picture. They could have had, I mean, Alt could have been at right tackle for all we know, and then he, I don't know, had to go get some water and Fisher moved over. So I mean, we're really reading into it, but
but symbolism. It's all about symbolism.
It's a picture on Twitter. We're taking it as well. This is the starting lineup, offensive line for Ohio State. We can't even see the left and left guard and left tackle, but man, pictures of Joe Alt. He is a big dude.
Yeah, the photos on Saturday and just the videos, just seeing the guys running around. I told you, he looks like he's gotten taller. He's just massive. How that guy played tight end at 235-ish or so, comes to Notre Dame, wasn't even there in the spring. I mean, would they just put him on like mashed potatoes and gravy and was just going crazy? And next thing you know, he's starting and finishing the last 6-7 games and freshman All-American on every unanimous freshman All-American. He's on every single team that had one. So, I mean, we could say a million things about Joe Alt. Just a tremendous, to come in. You can't say that enough. The guy shows up in the summer, and 60 days later he's starting. It's unbelievable. Obviously, and a testament to his dad as well, and all that experience he's probably getting from his pops.
Yeah, we have a comment here on YouTube. No surprise that Alt is at left tackle and Fisher at right tackle. So somebody just said, me bringing that up is more, in recent videos and shows and whatnot, Tim has said to put Fisher back at left tackle. And I was like, no way. But we didn't know what Harry Heastand would do. New offensive line coach. I always fear weird when I call him a new offensive line coach, but, the replacement of Jeff Quinn. So that's kind of the thing there. So, great looking offensive line. I mean, how excited are you as an offensive line guy, Tim, with if Tosh Baker, it's like you're stacking up your offensive linemen from regardless of position, from best to, the least talented right now. And Tosh Baker's like your 7th or 8th guy. That's a really good offensive line.
Oh, I agree. One of those early things is, I was thinking was do they move him? Do they move Tosh inside? Give him a shot. I know he's tall, but Notre Dame has played. Yeah, he's tall. He's big. But they've had some tall guys way in the past. I mean, some of the tall guys played way back in the Lou Holtz years. Played inside Clevenger before he went to tackle. Mike Rosenthal actually started a couple of games as a freshman on the 95 team, and he was 6'7", 6'8", played in the NFL for a handful of years as well. So I was always considering that if you're going your best 5, but with the O-line, I was really excited Josh Lugg came back. He's had a really good 2019 and then was dinged up a little bit. And just seeing him run in the reports that Tyler and Patrick at Blue and Gold were saying, he was just looking fast, looking athletic, like a different energy with him out there. So hopefully he's healthy. And I mean, he's got a lot of games under his belt. This whole team's got a lot of games under his belt, especially when you get Patterson back. And then even Zeke has started games the last 2 years. So it's an experienced group. I think they're all going to buy into the way Harry coaches, and because they want to be great. And it could be a super talented offensive line once they all mesh together here.
All right, folks, make sure you hit the thumbs up if you're with us live here, watching back on YouTube. Drop a super chat if you want your question answered right away, and we'll get into that. All right, moving to a different position on the offense. I'm going to pull up our scholarship chart that Patrick Engel has put together at Blue and Gold. 8 scholarship wide receivers that I've highlighted here. Read through these guys real quickly. Got incoming freshman Tobias Merriweather, who will enroll at Notre Dame this summer. Jaden Thomas, Lorenzo Styles, Deion Colsey, your receivers from that 2021 recruiting class. You got Joe Wilkins, Braden Lindsey, Avery Davis, guys who've been at Notre Dame feels like forever, and then Matt Salerno, the promoted walk-on receiver, who is kind of known at this point for his fair catching duties for Notre Dame in that 2020 season. So, Tim, when you look at this group, who is kind of the reliable target? Like who? We'll start there, and before I get into a follow-up question, who do you feel like Notre Dame's going to have to rely on the most this season?
Well, when you say Mr. Reliable, you got to go with, Avery Davis, once he gets back.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that.
To be reliable, you got to be there. I mean, and that's not a knock on Avery Davis. The dude can't help getting hurt, but the dude's had injury issues.
And I'm saying reliable as in from experience. From
Okay.
experience, he's going to be a 2-time captain more than likely this year. I'm saying that, because when he's been there, he's had some big time catches for them the last couple of years. Reliable as in just, that experience. But you're right, he's coming back from an injury, and how long is that going to be? The fact that Wilkins is back so soon, I think that was probably the hidden gem of day one. That Marcus Freeman said he's out there, no brace, running full speed, 100 miles an hour, looking good. I thought that was one of the big news of day one, especially going forward there. But when you're saying the reliable one, the best of the group, the guy you got to get the football to this season, in my opinion, is Lorenzo Styles. Lorenzo Styles has to take that jump from solid, played a bunch last year, to upper echelon sophomore. And there's been a big history of Notre Dame guys going from freshman to sophomore, especially wide receiver. Over the last 10 years with Brian Kelly, he's had a handful of guys. So he's the guy. He's the guy, and he showed it in the Fiesta Bowl. Get him the ball, reverses, hopefully run some more screens with him. He's a dynamic athlete.
Would you like him in the slot more or the field?
I love him in the slot. I love him in the slot because, once again, go get, Lindsey's outside with one, and then if you could get once again, those young guys again, Colsey, Thomas, one of those guys being the go-to guy in the boundary. I like Styles as a slot just because of the reverses, getting him the ball in the run game. When he motions, he's athletic looking when he motions and gets the ball off of motions, which he did a handful last year. I would play him there instead of playing him out so wide.
I agree, because I think you have a lot more outside receivers than you do slot guys. I mean, your dependable slot guys right now are Davis and Styles that we know about at least. Yeah. So, man, not to sting Notre Dame fans, but once I said that, I was thinking, man, if they would have signed CJ Williams, I think he could start day one at slot. Like he was like 4 wide, CJ Williams, Avery Davis. Oh man.
Well, he was running around for SC yesterday at day one, so I'm sure he was enjoying himself.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes here soon. All right, we've got a lot of hate going on, and I feel like it's in the comments. Tom says start a GoFundMe account for hairbrush for Mike Singer.
Oh wow,
we don't need this kind of negativity. Is it that bad? I guess it is. Well, it's not great. When I tell Tim, hey, just bring down the handsome a little bit. I'm not wearing a shirt and tie. I'll do that after football games. And then you got Tim looking all good, and here's me, just scraping by. So do appreciate all the comments.
I love it.
All right.
Hey. Oh no, I was going to talk about, obviously, with the young receivers. Obviously that you got Thomas and Colsey. Just a couple. As I mentioned, a few stats here on some of the guys that have blown up from freshman to sophomore year. You got, Corey Robinson, 9 catches to 40 his sophomore year. Can that be Colsey? Thomas didn't play a lot, so he would be jumping on the scene. But this is more like of a Colsey type guy because he played sparingly, only a couple catches last year. Will Fuller went from 6 catches to 76. I think that's the craziest jump. EQ St. Brown went from 5 to 65 catches, and then Chase Claypool went from 5 to 30 and then 50, and he just kept getting better each and every year. So, there has been a handful of those guys that have jumped up there, and that's going to be Colsey, Thomas. We're going to talk to we're blue in the face of receiver because they're needed because of the numbers issues. Wilkins back from an injury. Lindsey's been injury prone his career. Obviously he played every snap basically last year. And then not Hubert Davis. Geez, that's the UNC coach. I got Sweet 16 on my mind. Avery Davis, obviously at wide receiver. So it's an interesting group. Some really, really talented guys in there. But the 2022 season is going to be dependent on these sophomores. It just is.
Well, let me that last statement, let me ask it in a different way. How dependent is this offense going to be, or how successful? All right, let me try to ask this question one more time. How important are these receivers to the success of the offense this upcoming season? Look, we always talk about trucks and trailers, right?
Sure.
If you don't have a truck at quarterback, it's going to be a struggle for you if you also have trailers at wide receiver.
See, I'm of the mindset, I'm just throwing it out there. If it's, you got different guys. If it's Buckner, I think Buckner and his, he's so athletic. You're going to have to respect him, meaning you're going to have to constantly have an overhang player, a safety somewhere to defend Buckner, or a Mike Backer always in there to spy on him, which opens up the door for everybody else. You're going to get a ton of man coverage, and you're going to be able to go up top and beat those guys. You're probably going to get some cover zero at times, if they're running the ball really successfully. So the truck or the trailer thing, if it's Pine, I'm just a believer. I think Pine's the middle of Cohen and Book. I think he's right in between those two guys. He's more athletic than Cohen. Does he have, the arm is Cohen? Cohen didn't have the blazingest arm, but the guy threw for 3,000 yards. So, and obviously Book is a combination of everything. He would scramble, make good plays, be accurate, hit some, his best football game was Clemson. So you always go back to that game and the way he played. So, but also the truck and trailer as wide receivers, and going to your question there, how dependent are they? Also, who's the second tight end? If a second tight end does not emerge behind Mayer, more wide receivers are going to play.
Here's a name. Breakout candidate that no one's talking about. Mitchell Evans. On the offense. No one's talking about him. But Mitchell Evans. Just keep an eye on him. We don't, like we talked about earlier, like we don't know Harry Houston, like what he's going to do with the offensive line. Like Jared Parker, new tight ends coach, like we're not 100% sure. But based on Mitchell Evans' play last year, what I had been hearing from folks close to the program last year, Mitchell Evans, dude.
He's he's an athlete. That's that, and he played. When you're going back to last year, you always heard the coaches talk about how he was a surprise. He came ready to play instantly, and they got him on the field, played a ton last year. Who is that second tight end is going to dictate, going back to Lorenzo Styles, if they have to play a second tight end, meaning Michael Mayer's got to flex out like Tyler Eifert had to do in 2012 for them to be successful on offense. That means Styles is going to probably have to play outside. So, but if it's Mayer as the tight end, they really don't have a true second. Styles probably plays more slot. And then you get Colsey outside more. If there's Thomas, a lot of early reports, Thomas during the bull prep, how he was blowing up. And then obviously he looks physically imposing when you see him running around out there. So wide receiver and that second tight end is going to be interesting.
All right, here's a couple comments. Paul says, Tim's awesome, blue and gold's most knowledgeable contributor. And I think he forgot to mention behind Mike Singer.
Who's that? Who's that? My brother? Is that my brother, Paul? There we go.
You think so?
No, I know that. It could be a code word. I love you, Paul. Thank you.
And then the answer to this question is about 19 minutes and 45 seconds. How long until Mike brings up Angeli? So I do have to ask Tim.
Fire! Hold on, this is a good crowd tonight. These guys are rocking.
Yeah, I got a great crowd. So this is our last show. We do this every Wednesday. So last Wednesday was right before the first spring practice. By the way, Tim, I want to get your thoughts on Pot of Gold. That was not in our show itinerary, but just thoughts on some of those. Actually, we are touching on that later. Never mind. But unprompted, I did not tell these people to rave about Steve Angeli, but in Ashton Pollard and Tyler Horka's video, talked about Angeli. And then I did a video with Todd Burlage, asked him about the quarterbacks.
Yep.
He loved up Steve Angeli. I don't know, Tim. What do you think? You're not a big
great
Angeli
article.
guy.
Yeah, and a great article Tyler did at Blue and Gold talking about Angeli and the QBs and all that stuff as well. Hey, if number one, I know everyone's like, oh, Hyde's not an Angeli guy. Hey, if he's playing for Notre Dame, go win games and go kick butt. If he's playing as a freshman, who's he going to be compared to? We're going to have to get Mr. Goolsby on and talk about his old college buddy, Matt Lovecchio there, since the comparisons are going to be, almost, eerie similar between 2022 and 2000 when Lovecchio jumped on the scene as a freshman. Hey, we've talked about Angeli, very, very underrated quarterback. For whatever reason, the national recruiting, everybody just dropped him down, poo-pooed on him. He's a lot better than people give him credit for. Plays for one of the premier programs in America. It's not like he can't throw a 10-yard pass, for crying out loud. You watch his highlights there. He's a good quarterback. Is he the guy this year? He's one snap away from being number 2. So, who knows? And that's what happened in 2000 real quick. Arnaz Battle, the running quarterback, kind of like a little Tyler Buckner. The backup in 2020 was old Gary Godsey, kind of little Drew Pine right there. And then you had Lovecchio and Angeli as the 3s. Who knows if those stars align here again?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, what was my bold prediction last week? Do you remember bold predictions?
Oh, Steve Angeli was going to come out of spring, and he was going to be talked about.
Impressive. Yep, I said he's going to impress the media. And
impress the media.
Yeah, he's a good player. But
he can throw. He's not 5'10". He's a good-looking quarterback.
Yeah, he's big. And folks who religiously watch our YouTube channel here, this is their 4th time they're going to hear me say this, but you see the dude in person and you're like, man, he's a big kid. He looks bigger than the 6'2 3/8", 210. And then I think about Drew Pine when he was a freshman, and he did look 5'10",
yes.
50.
When he walked on that field in that Alabama game for a snap, it was like, oh, wow. Hey, Angeli, people may not like this, but he looks like the old school Michigan quarterbacks during the Lloyd Carr years. Those tall, athletic, pocket passers. Michigan has had a ton of those guys over the years. And he looks like that guy. 6'3", big, strong, athletic guy is going to sit in the pocket and deliver play action. Those are his strengths.
Yeah. All right, folks, make sure you hit the thumbs up if you're with us live watching back. Definitely appreciate you guys. Excuse me. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not yet. So, yeah, that was about 4 minutes of Steve Angeli talk. So there's your answer there, Mr. Terrence. And Michael asks, hey, Mike, who is this year's Joe Alt? There's no rhyme or reason or scientific thing to who is I get asked this all the time. Who's the next Joe Alt? It's Angeli. Angeli's my guy. Alt was just my guy in that 2021 class. I tend to latch on to recruits who people don't like, maybe not don't like, it's not the correct term, but just don't think are going to be quality, solid players for Notre Dame. And, we'll kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate, but also I do believe in them. And my other one is Angeli's teammate, Jaden Bellamy. I think Bellamy is got some crap to him. Keep it PG, but a lot of people disagree on that.
Real quick. Well, let me ask you just real quick, Mike, off of that is, when they talk about who's the next Joe Alt, when you talk Alt, is it the under-recruited guy, the guy that's the hidden gem everyone assumes is going to redshirt for 3 years and then show up on the scene, so to speak. So is that is that Ziegler this year, who is that under recruited type guy.
Well, who's
For me,
yours? Yeah, well, who's
my,
yours?
mine is Morrison. I think Morrison's one of the most underrated kids in this class. Quiet, big time. Everyone in the Pac-12 loved him. Really, really good football player. Who I think that's my guy. Is that hidden gem that kind of got lost in the shuffle and forgotten about. But you watch his film, that kid could play. He could play.
Yeah. I mean, Washington, a school that
Yes.
makes claim to DBU.
Yes.
He was almost
Oregon.
committed there. And
Yep.
like he kind of was silently committed. Worst term in all of the books, by the way. Don't get me started on it. Drop me a super chat, we will. But then he flips to Notre Dame silently, whatever. I mean, Alabama, Oklahoma, dude had some big time offers. So,
Really good film.
4-star according to the On3 consensus. Yeah, I think he's big time, folks. $1, 1 year premium access, blueandgold.com. Guys, it's a buck. It's a buck. Go sign up to the site. Leave a YouTube comment. Let me know if you've signed up. Drop me a note on Twitter, DM, tweet. Let me know if you're just let me know, hey, I'm from YouTube. Sign up for the site. Would love to know. Recruiting scoop. Our staff writes more articles than you'll probably even get to read today. Tim Hyde always throwing in some thoughts. You can interact with him in that forum. Weekly staff chats Tuesday at noon Eastern. Again, blueandgold.com. Our introductory offer, which will not be around forever. And it will go away and never come back. So get it while you still can. Question here, Mike, who is your Aunt Jelly of the 2023 class so far? If I had to pick one, I think I was asked this a couple weeks ago. I mean, all of them are pretty, like, I'm not probably going to go with like a big time guy like Keon Keeley. I think is going to be a first round pick. It's kind of an obvious one. Love Adon Schuler. So if I'm gonna kind of have to pick one, right now it'd probably be Preston Zinter. Notre Dame sources love this young man a lot more than the websites do at this point. Any thoughts, Tim, before we move along?
Yeah, well, right. I mean, when you have the number one, number two recruiting class in the country, there's not a lot of low hanging fruit, so to speak. And Zinter is the lowest guy, but he's not when you watch his film and the athleticism brings, and the guy could play one of four positions.
If
So he's a good football player.
if Ronan Hannafin ends up at Notre Dame's class, he might be the guy. I'm coming up to Massachusetts, I want to say, and it'll be either May or September. So come and make a swing and check out all the Notre Dame recruits up in Massachusetts. And yeah,
A lot of offers out of Mass.
this is the most I've seen Notre Dame recruit in the area
Yes.
since I started covering the Fighting Irish close to 3 years ago. Michael says he has already signed up for $1, no brainer, for sure. Michael, appreciate it. Yeah, so maybe we can even do like a meetup. Maybe me and Tim can get lunch, and some folks can meet up with us.
Yeah, there's some good football, and the offers that Notre Dame have thrown out are really, really good high school football, especially the D lineman who just decommitted out of BC, playing for Catholic Memorial. Really good high school football program out there.
We are going to talk about some defensive line recruits later in the show when we transition into recruiting. But one more football topic, injury news. Aiden Kaina-Aina, 6'3", 310-pound interior defensive lineman from Colorado. ACL tear, first spring practice. What's kind of the impact of this news, in your opinion, Tim?
Well, the first thing, you just feel bad for him. He's going into year 3, that typical D lineman, red shirt. He got in the rotation a little last year, played some, was a little banged up, and then got ready, played a bunch in the Fiesta Bowl. Actually looked really good out there. And then you're thinking he's going to come in, get in that number 2 rotation, play a ton this year, and then gone. And my first instincts was just like, feel bad for him. And then now it's a numbers game. And Notre Dame has not, recruited massive dudes up front. And me as a coach looking at it, I'm thinking of Ohio State and the size. So you're going to have to go Cross, Lacey. The big conversation was, is Riley Mills moving him out to the big end like they did with MTA, because Mills, another guy, junior season, he's got to be on the field. There's no way he could just sit there and be the second string against, behind Adamiola at 3 tech. Mills has to be on the field just for pure size, athleticism. It's his time. It's a numbers crunch. So now if Mills is the DN, you got Cross and Lacey inside Adamiola. Gabe Rubio, you better be ready to play as a true sophomore, because who is there now that, Aiden is gone? There's no one. Heinisch as a freshman is way too small. I think we could agree on that. And then who else have they recruited? Jason Anye, who I think they moved inside, right? But you haven't heard a peep from him in 2 years.
Did you mention Rubio?
Yeah. I mean, Rubio, but are they going to move Lacey to 3 tech, Rubio to nose? So you have, is it Cross Rubio at nose, Lacey Adamiola at 3 tech, a D tackle there? So you have 4, but someone's going to miss a game. I mean, Kurt Heinisch missed 2 games this past season. Someone's going to miss a game somewhere. So it's depth, and that's what stinks when you lose a third-year guy in the program.
Yeah, and at 310 pounds.
Yes.
Quick projection, starting lineup maybe for Ohio State, strong side end, Viper, 3 tech, and nose. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I just said, Mills has to be on the field. I don't know how that guy could be on the bench and just playing 35, 40 snaps. He's got to play. So maybe you up the ante with some depth, or numbers wise. Maybe some guys play more snaps instead of the hockey rotation. Elston had playing 10 guys sometimes, and you're like, who the heck? Why is that guy on the field? The game's 17-14. Get your guys out there. And I would go Cross just with experience at nose. Adamiola is a stud at 3 tech. He's going to be an NFL draft pick this time next year. And then obviously Foskey, and then there's been lots of talk about, Justin Adamiola moving to D end. But if he plays D end, once again, where's Mills? So, I mean, those would be my 4. And I think that's pretty commonplace when you think about it, when you're going with the most experienced, especially Foskey, Adamiola. I mean, those 2 guys are locks.
All right. We ready for some recruiting talk? Any other team-related discussions you wanted to get into, Tim?
No, I think we're good. I think we've talked about a few of the main points we chatted about.
All right. So, recruiting time. All right. So, as is customary now in our live show here, we'll talk about the article we published this morning, the Cover 3 article, which the topic was, who was our favorite pot of gold offer? So, also we'll have a really neat article out Thursday morning. There was this website where I was able to enter in a location and drop a pin. So I have a U.S. map with a pin on every offer Notre Dame sent out last Thursday for pot of gold. 70 in total, and very heavily in the South. I think it was well over half of the offers were in like Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. If you include Texas and Oklahoma in the South, certainly that was 45 of the 70 from those states right there, and South Carolina, Tennessee, but very much loaded in the South. But we posed the question, Cover 3, which is, again, asking 3 members of our staff, kind of an interesting question with Notre Dame football. And this topic was obviously with pot of gold, your favorite pot of gold offer that Notre Dame sent out. Ashton Pollard, who is not with us. If you're wondering, you're just joining us why Ashton's not here. She is still battling illness, and specifically her voice. So she told me she hasn't spoken in a few days. So keep Ashton in your thoughts and prayers. She's going to the doctor tomorrow morning. But Ashton went with Davion Gauze from South Florida. See his On3 consensus ranking, number 79 player in the country, number 7 running back. Talented player, put up huge numbers as a sophomore last year. Tim, you went with Jason Robinson. He's not the biggest guy. 5'8", 150 is what he listed at. USC commit, a program you're familiar with, number 198 player nationally, number 35 wide receiver. Why'd you go with Jason Robinson?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, he's the 35th wide receiver, and they're probably like, oh, why'd you pick that guy? We've kind of talked about those receivers Notre Dame has had lately that have been in the mid low 30s of position rank, and how they've had a handful of guys out there and have all started, and a handful of them gone to the NFL that have been ranked in that 28 to 35 range. And then, I looked at it. First off, I was born in Long Beach, so it's nice when Notre Dame goes after a Long Beach Poly Jackrabbit, which is few and far between in the history of Notre Dame football. And then next thing is, I looked at it as a challenge for Marcus Freeman. Everyone talks about his recruiting chops, so I thought this would be a good little thing to. Hey, they lost C.J. Williams, right? So let's turn the favor, and Marcus Freeman, Chancey Stuckey guys go out and get a USC commit out of Long Beach Poly. We were talking on the message board how they've had 14, 15 since Pete Carroll's years from Poly go to SC. So that was mine, just all encompassing a whole bunch of things. And then you watch this film, athletic. You can't say that enough about this kid. He is a dynamic slot wide receiver.
Yep. So Notre Dame offered him on Thursday. Ashton Pollard actually wrote an article about Robinson and his recruitment. He really wants to get out to South Bend. My approach was an unranked player, Eli Bowen, younger brother of 2023 safety commit Peyton Bowen for the Irish. So I like this offer for two reasons. First, Eli Bowen is a really good football player. He was third team All-State in 6A in Texas, which is really impressive for a sophomore. And listen, I mean, he's a big-time football player. He's got a great offer list. Notre Dame, Ole Miss, LSU, tons of schools after him. Watch him on tape. He can play again. Ton of big-time football. And then two, I think it kind of rejuvenates that family. Like, Peyton's looking around. Like, he's visited Oklahoma. Yep. Apparently some secret visits even to Oklahoma that haven't been reported publicly. He's visited Ole Miss all since he's committed to Notre Dame. Maybe he's looking at Alabama. Maybe we'll take a trip out to Oregon. So I think that this is – so it's not like Notre Dame's offering some scrub to keep Peyton Bowen. Like, Eli can play, and – like, this kind of rejuvenates that family. I feel like, man, let's have, and they're only 1 year apart. It's not like you got a Donovan and Kurt Hinish situation where Donovan comes in and Kurt's out of the program. Like, these guys are just a year apart. Peyton being 2023 and Eli being 2024. So, like, I feel like if Eli Bowen's name was Joe Schmo, he's getting that Notre Dame offer. I think it just kind of helps a little bit more. That brother is committed to Notre Dame. So, yeah, good choices.
And he's got good film.
He does have great film.
He's got really good film.
Pick sixes to start the film. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, he's got really good film. Really good looking corner. I would consider him one of those nickel type corners with his size and whatnot. Super, really good looking athlete. And if they offer him and it helps keep his brother in the thing, and then they get him a year from now, so be it.
Great.
And then you got two really good football players out of that part of Texas, which is a big plus, where Coach Freeman's really attacking hard in Texas.
All right, moving along. Tim really wanted to discuss, and we'll get to some questions here in a few minutes. If you drop a super chat, we will get to your question right away. But Tim, when we were preparing the show, Tim really wanted to talk about a defensive line recruit, and we will hear Tim's thoughts about that, and I'll dish on his recruitment in just a minute. But first, we have a word from Reggie Brooks.
What's up, Notre Dame fans? It's Reggie Brooks. I'm here to tell you I'm meeting my biggest fans on Meat League. Let's talk Notre Dame football, past and present. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Hostess Heroes Foundation, and one lucky winner will win 2 tickets to the BYU Notre Dame game in Las Vegas. So download Meat Lead onto your iPhones and meet me at Meat Lead.
He missed his block. He forced Rick right, and it's like ran out of options real quick.
All right, pretty cool stuff on Meat Lead there, Tim.
Nothing like talking snow, the Snow Bowl with Reggie Brooks. How much fun could that be, right?
I can
Man,
only imagine. We got to get Goolsby on there. I think I tried to set that up. I don't remember where that stands, but yeah, we got to get
you
Goolsby
got
on.
to get the captain on there. He'll love it. He'll
Yeah,
love
so
it.
former Notre Dame players are on Meetly. You sign up on the app. There's some kind of fee on there, but you get to spend a few minutes as some former Notre Dame players. I think even some current Notre Dame players are on there as well. For our Irish Huddle podcast that Patrick Angle and Tyler Horka do, they've been interviewing some former and I think current. I can't remember who the current Notre Dame player was. I think it was a
That was
defensive back.
Nana.
Yeah, yes, Nana Safa-Mensah they interviewed. All these guys available on Meetly. I think was it Will Fuller? Man, I should come more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a handful, and I think it's going to the name, image, likeness
Yes.
type of account for
Yep.
players as well.
Yep, NIL. So cool way to support some current and past Notre Dame players. But okay, let's get into Jason Moore, number 39 player in the country, number 6 defensive lineman. You see this recruiting prediction machine. It's an algorithm that projects where players are going to college. His is trending hard towards Notre Dame in large part due to a prediction that I put in on New Year's Day. Right when the ball dropped, I put in a prediction. That's when our site moved over from Rivals to On3. So that was kind of one of my predictions to kick things off. This would be a big get, Tim. We'll put on his tape. Why don't you tell us about him? What makes you so excited about Jason Moore?
Well, I know when I reached out to you a couple weeks ago, just chatting about some guys, I told you from their sophomore to junior film, I think he has made the most improvement of all these 2023 guys. I mean, night and day compared. I watched him as a sophomore. Yeah, he looked like a good looking, strong guy. Didn't run that well. You watch his junior film, my gosh. I mean, he looks like a ready-made, let's go out there and get in the 2 deep in 2023 when he comes to South Bend, hopefully. His length, once again, it's, you can't coach length. I always tell my kids that, all my tall guys, you're tall, long, lean. Hey, God's blessed you, man. And take it. Look at that. He played his film. This is going back from a sophomore to junior year. I'm getting excited watching this guy because his hands, his leverage. Look at that right there. The way he strikes, and he never allows offensive linemen to get in him. He's like this nonstop over this entire junior highlight film. And I think he's the most improved football player. I can't say that enough. I mean, look at the get off his hands. It's a screen that he breaks up. He has a couple rundown plays. And the first guy I thought about and watching him was, I went and watched Stephon Tuitt's senior film. He's got better fundamentals than Stephon. Stephon was just a monster, just running over people down there in Georgia. But Moore's got a lot of fundamentals, really obviously well coached out there at DeMatha. And you get into that Washington, D.C. Catholic League, and you could get an All-American like this. It's, tip of the hat there to Marcus Freeman. And I know Coach Washington's recruiting the heck out of this guy since he's taken over. So, he's good. He's a good football player. I see him being your true strong end and being that hardcore 5-tech. I know there's rumors or talked about him moving inside. I think he's a solid defensive end. You don't have to move him inside.
Yeah, I saw him just a few weeks ago, earlier this month. Made a stop at his high school, and yeah, he he looks the part. There's not a lot of recruits who make me feel small. I'm a pretty big dude, about 6'3", and he was one of those guys where I was like, well, Blake Fisher is by far the number one. I felt like a shrimp when I met Blake Fisher for the first time. But yeah, Jason Moore, big dude.
His hand, it's play after play in this field, and just his hands and his leverage, his gap side, arm and leg free is the term you use with the D lineman. He's got it all. And he really he has jumped from his sophomore to junior year. He really has. And, testament to his coaching and him working at it. He's a guy that could come in and play right away. I feel at Notre Dame. When I say right away, I'm always talking 2 deep, get into that rotation. And you got him next to Tyson Ford, another tall, lean defensive end. Now, Coach Freeman and, starting to stockpile some bodies out there that are, top 100 type football players.
And as far as his recruitment, we can talk about how good he is, but Notre Dame
Oh,
fans aren't going to care as long as if he doesn't go to Notre Dame, they're not going to care.
yes.
No, I didn't put in that prediction willy nilly. I take those things pretty seriously. No guarantee that he lands at Notre Dame by any stretch, but I do like Notre Dame right now for him, and I think Penn State is the biggest competition. Mike Elston in Michigan, that's definitely competition. Ohio State is a team, but not a lot of people are talking about for Jason Moore, but they are certainly in the mix. I think it's those four, but even talking to people close to him at DeMatha Catholic in Hyattsville, Maryland, talking to sources on the Notre Dame side of things, people feel like it'll be Notre Dame. Thing is, he's only visited once. He made it out for the North Carolina game last year. Notre Dame will be able to get him out for an official visit in June, likely. Because it's on their dime, but staff would certainly love to get him on campus this spring, and then again for the fall. And then again for the summer, and lock this one up. So, yeah, big time player, Jason Moore, number 39 recruit nationally, number 6 defensive lineman, and when on 3 lists defensive lineman, that's kind of like an interior defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Then they list edges as that defensive end. So. Yeah, big
Now,
time player.
Washington was recruiting him when he was at Ohio State, wasn't he? Wasn't he his main recruiter?
Nah, he was the linebackers coach at Ohio State.
Yeah, okay.
So
I didn't know, because I know there's so many guys that have been coming and going that Washington's had tentacles in.
Yeah, that's a lot of linebacker recruits for sure.
Yeah.
Did want to address a quick question from Jason. Do you know if the hats are being shipped out for signing up for Blue and Gold? So if you signed up, I want to say it was, what was it, before... is in the middle of February. I can't remember what the date was when we had that deal with the Founders Club. That will, on the sign-up page, says shipped out in the summer. So when we get inventory for that, it'll be shipped out during the summer. We'll have updates on that as that time gets closer. But another player that Tim really wanted to talk about, Samuel Mpemba. He's from St. Louis, plays at IMG Academy now. You look at the recruiting prediction machine, gives Notre Dame a slight lead for him, 36.6% in favor of the Irish. Missouri at 32.7%. He's visited there twice in the past week. Miami, 15.2%, excuse me, running in third. So Mpemba, number 31 overall player nationally, number 1 athletes. Now, we're going to pop on his sophomore tape because this is the most recent tape on Huddle. I did see him when he was a junior. I could not put that video together in time, but he was just playing H-back. So he played H-back as a junior at IMG Academy. This sophomore film that we're watching from 2020 is from when he was in St. Louis. So he's playing a little receiver. He's rushing off the edge. So he's an athlete, Tim. What do you think about him?
I'm laughing because how many guys 6'4", I know he did it, the interview after he visited, he just visited Notre Dame, which I'm sure you'll chat about, but yeah, he's 6'4", 230 is out there playing wide receiver. He is everything the national recruiters are saying when it's just athlete. What position is he going to play? He's probably another one of those hybrid. Let's find a spot for him. Just my gosh, he's so fast. You know what? And I really didn't watch much of him until he obviously visited. Look at this catch. I mean, come on. And, because he was visiting, I wanted to check him out. Like, what is all this hype on him? And, found some film and even a couple game films that are online and whatnot. He's an athlete. I know the talk of him playing Rover, that length out there and that size. I mean, he's going to be a monster, Jalen Smith, when Jalen Smith played, the Rover when he was a true freshman, but athletic. I mean, seriously, I mean, this kid could go play tight end with his size and his hands and his ability, but that right there, that tackle, the way he just cut and cut back and got the guy on the run, that's where he's going to make his money. He's playing on defense. He's a special guy. And I know you interviewed and wrote about him on his visit here just recently.
Tim, a lot of players who are listed as a quote unquote athlete on their profiles, right? I don't like the term athlete, but I get that some kids you just don't know what they're going to play, and they're being
Oh,
recruited at both sides. So you put the athlete tag on them. Most of them are receivers slash DBs, or maybe like a, every once in a while you have like a running back slash linebacker, something like that. But the edge slash linebacker slash H-back jumbo athlete doesn't come around too often. And he's a freak. I mean, On3 dropped them a little bit in their last rankings. I don't see it. I
wow.
understand it
Yeah.
because of his junior year. The dude didn't play defense.
Yeah.
Like he was in Africa all of last summer. So he wasn't with the team, got there late, they just put him at H back. So I understand why but the dude has got all of the tools to be a future first round pick. And I don't like saying that for high school juniors, but I mean, you watch the film and the dude's got just it. So special player, special talent. Notre Dame's looking good for him. Too early to project where he's going to land. Considering putting in a prediction for him to land at Notre Dame, but a little too early for that, in my opinion. Still want to see how some things play out. Coming up with some visits when he gets back to Notre Dame next, all that good stuff. But yeah, heck of a player. So would you be okay with him playing Rover?
Oh my God. You know what? Just get him to South Bend. How's that? Just get him to South Bend. But, I was going to say, he's that type of athlete. Like, you need to find out, where do you want to put him out? Where do you want to coach him? Where do you want to just drill into this guy everything you need to get him on the field and not be, which I felt one of the wasted talents at Notre Dame in the Kelly era was Ishaq Williams. When Williams came aboard, in 2011, Williams was that same guy. He looks like Pemba, the same guy when he came, out of New York to Notre Dame, the tall, rangy, could play multiple positions. Notre Dame had him playing just DN, outside backer, 3-3 stack inside backer, all these things. And find one spot for this kid, because like you said, Mike, he is, wow. I mean, he's not the number one athlete for no reason. And when you get number one athlete, those dudes are usually safeties, tailbacks that play everything. And you got a 6'4", 240-pound wide receiver D end. So get him to South Bend. Figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tim, we were going to wrap up recruiting talk by talking about the running backs. Remind me, we'll save that for next week. That'll be a good discussion. Sure. Yeah. But we will get into questions now. So if you have some questions we haven't answered yet, someone's asking about the blue gold game tickets that are seating. I got no idea. Sorry about that. Joseph asks, Mike, is Dante Moore visiting this weekend? Not the expectation. I've reported on this at blueandgold.com. Throw a nugget for folks listening 53 minutes in. Next week is his spring break. Keep an eye on that. It's his spring break. I don't think he's visiting this weekend, but he could visit any day next week during the week. So something to keep an eye on there. This is from earlier in the show. Andy asks, what did Goolsby think of the Japan Bowl video I sent you on Twitter? Andy, thank you for sending me that. And then I put this together. And then, did I play it on a show recently?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I did. Goolsby loved it, right? When I texted that, he loved it. I said it in a group chat, me, Tim, and Goolsby.
Yeah, he loved it.
He loved it. So, so there you go, Andy. Definitely appreciate you letting me know about that. Joseph asked the question about Dante Moore, and he says, well, if Dante does visit here soon and Notre Dame hits a home run, could he be on commitment watch? If you read between the lines on Dante Moore, he does not seem to be a guy, to me, that wants to stretch out his recruitment much longer. Does he take visits? He's talked about it. We'll see. A lot of kids talk about taking official visits and stretching their recruitments longer than they say they are, and then they end up pushing it up. It's just a natural thing with recruiting. A lot of these coaches don't want to stretch out the recruiting process. They want to get it done sooner than later. So something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, he was talking about July, August time frame, and
it'll be before his senior year, that's for sure.
I think reading between the lines when you talk to him, I'm going to be surprised if it's not going to drag out that long.
No, I don't think so. But we'll see. David asks, if Kyle Hamilton is drafted as high as number 2, which is where many people are projecting him to be second. I believe it was Mel Kiper had him going number 2. So was it the Lions? Is the Lions number 2?
Usually, can we just say usually they are?
What short-term and long-term effects should it have on recruiting? I will say the short term is Notre Dame will send out all sorts of graphics and whatnot, safety recruits. They'll let them know. That's the short term. Does that win any recruitments? Doubt it. Is it a factor? Is it something? Sure. Long term, it's just another notch in the belt. It's another, hey, we've had X amount of guys drafted in the top 5. Here's all of our safety. It's a good data point, and it's when these kids are watching football on Sundays and they're watching Sunday Night Football, and it's Kyle Hamilton, Notre Dame. Oh, hopefully he says Notre Dame instead of the Marist School. His high school, a lot of guys will say that. But that's my take. Any other thoughts, Tim?
No, I agree. It's short term, the graphics, they could tell Bowen, hey, come here, look what we just did with Kyle Hamilton. It's that type of early recruiting thing. And then long term, his face is going to be there in the monogram room, and you're going to see safeties, and you're going to list safeties, Harrison Smith and all these other guys, and Hamilton will be in the list. So, but hey, if he could go 2, but I think the last guy to go that high was Eric Turner out of UCLA in the early 90s, I think is the last safety that high. So that'd be unbelievable. It really would.
All right. Last questions. I feel like we need one more question after this one. So go ahead and drop one, folks watching live with us. Tom, can you guys comment on the most major weaknesses in the defensive secondary? Tim?
Oh, yeah, well, great question. We've mentioned that lately. At least I have, I've been talking about the secondary just as what concerns me is the freshmen. None of them really jumped up last year to get in there, and they had to move a few positions, Henderson, Watts, to create depth and players. So, yeah, and until they play a game, it stinks. It's CJ Stroud and those wide receivers. Our lasting memory is that second half, really that last drive before the first half in the Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State, where they made, Sanders, the quarterback, look like Desmond Robinson at Michigan. But that's going to be the issue. But we'll talk DBs a million times between here and there, especially as we get, hear which some of these young guys. I mean, they're 4 freshmen, and you got 2 18-year-olds in high school that are there, Bellamy and Mickey.
Yes. So they signed 3 DBs.
Bodies. That's 6. You got to think 2. I'm hoping, I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, I'm hoping 2 out of those 6 make a dent and get in that 2 deep.
All right. Here's a great way to end the show. Michael asks, when can we expect a commitment?
Flip a coin.
I will say in the next 2.5 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. If not sooner. I think
a visited kid, a kid who's visited. You feel?
I mean, there's no kids who's going to commit who's not visiting. It's not COVID times anymore. So,
no. But I'm talking about like in this next batch, guys that have been coming. We got you've had a handful. I mean, just go on Blue and Gold and read all your stuff. It seems like there's been a lot of guys visiting. So
I think I think we're going to have a good bit of offensive firepower here soon. Michael asked about Jason Robinson, 4-star receiver, USC commit. Watch earlier in the show. We talked about him. Kearney, we talked about the 2023 receivers, the starters. 2023. So next year. Tim, 2023 starters? What do you got?
Well, the good thing is
Styles, Colsey, Mary.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say the good thing moving forward is we know who they are because there's only a couple of them. So we know it's going to be the 3 softs are going to be juniors. Merriweather is a soft, and the couple they get in this class. All of a sudden, you're going to have 6, 7 guys next year. So the good thing moving forward, it's extremely easy to talk about the same guys over and over again. But
I will add, if you want to ask me about the 2022 starters or major contributors, there's going to be someone who's not on the team right now. Don't know who it is, but I still believe that they're going to take a graduate transfer receiver for this upcoming season.
Hey, my throw just real quick for a commit, the guy that we hasn't been talked about who just visited. I love the film of the kid Osbury who goes to school on LSU's campus. Tiny, small, probably the smallest guy they're recruiting in the front seven.
About 6'2", 200.
If that big. He looks small on film, but absolutely the most fearless, fastest hitter I've seen in quite a long time. That guy could play football. Outstanding. I'm glad he just tripped up there. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was his linebacker in the country. Tim, appreciate it. Guys, we'll be back with Ashton. Cross your fingers next week.
Come on, Ashton.
Come on, Ashton. Pull through, girl. So we'll have her on there. It's always fun talking Notre Dame football with Ashton Pollard at Blue and Gold. All right, that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys. Hit that thumbs up. Go to blueandgold.com, $1 for 1 year premium access. Check out Meat Leet. Shout out to Royal Tiger. And we will catch you guys next time.